Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild, the staggering, record-shattering career of Cristiano Ronaldo. But look, we aren't just going to sit here and watch a highlight reel. We're going to dig way deeper into the source material of his life to prove a point. And that point? His unprecedented success is not just about having a ton of natural talent. It's built on what we're calling a psychological architecture of refusal. Basically, it's this absolute, unyielding refusal to accept any limitation whatsoever, whether that's placed on him by defenders, by his critics, or literally by time itself.
Here's our agenda for today. We're going to explore his tactical evolution on the pitch, break down the sheer mathematics of his goal scoring, look at his chase for ultimate glory, map out his incredible rise from Madeira to a global icon, and finally, touch on his very human legacy.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Evolution of a Footballer. Now, if you really want to understand Ronaldo, you've got to understand how he survived at the absolute highest level for over 2 decades. Because he didn't just stay the same, right? He continuously adapted his tactical role across completely different eras and leagues. Think about it. Back in 2003, arriving at Manchester United, he was this raw, wide winger. Fast forward to 2009 at Real Madrid, and he's morphed into a direct central striker. Then he goes to Juventus in 2018 and adapts again, this time into a highly intelligent target man. And by 2023 at Nassr, he's evolved into a veteran leader. He never just relied on one single style of play. He was constantly rewriting his own programming.
The contrast between his early days and his peak is just profound. Young Ronaldo was this thin, super unpredictable entertainer. He loved the stepovers, loved taking on defenders one-on-one. But over time, he deliberately transformed both his body and his mind into a ruthless, highly efficient goal-scoring machine. Actually, he basically traded in those flashy tricks for one-touch finishes and this elite, almost sixth-sense awareness of space. He figured out pretty quickly that getting to the correct place at the exact right millisecond was way deadlier than any fancy dribble.
Let's look at a specific example, the anatomy of his famous headers. It's not just about jumping really high. It is a highly calculated 4-step tactical ambush. First, he starts just outside the defender's direct line of vision. Then, as the cross is being prepped, he steps backward or sideways to carve out some space. Third, he accelerates violently into that open area, leaps with this immense core strength, and then he just seems to literally hang in the air. By the time the defender even realizes what's happening, the ambush is already over.
And this kind of tactical calculation, it completely extends to his signature knuckleball free kick. By striking right through the center of the ball with minimal spin, he made his flight path dip and swerve all over the place. It was totally unpredictable. Add in that globally recognized wide stance and the deep, controlled breathing routine, and you got a technique that forced world-class goalkeepers into sheer guessing games. Plus, it became this iconic stance that kids were copying on playgrounds all over the world.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, the mathematics of glory. When you zoom out, all those individual tactical moments, the headers, the free kicks, the tap-ins, they created an absolute avalanche of data. Take the number 450, for example. That is the astonishing number of official goals he scored in just 438 competitive matches during his time at Real Madrid. Let that sink in for a second. Averaging more than a goal a game for nearly a decade at the highest level of European football, it's a statistical anomaly that is honestly almost impossible to comprehend.
Then there's 140. This is the total that makes him the undisputed all-time leading scorer of the UEFA Champions League. When the stadium lights were at their absolute brightest and the pressure would normally crush an ordinary player, he just thrived. He completely earned that title of Mr. Champions League.
And all of this culminates in one massive number, 973. As of June 2026, this is the highest official goal-scoring total in the history of elite men's football. I mean, think about the sheer repetition required to hit that. Hidden behind that number are thousands of early morning training sessions, freezing ice baths, agonizing missed shots, and painful defeats.
Breaking down that massive total really proves his undeniable adaptability, because he didn't just conquer one single system or one league. He scored heavily everywhere, in Portugal, in England, in Spain, in Italy, in Saudi Arabia, and, of course, on the international stage. He basically decoded every single defensive culture he ever came up against.
But here is the crucial takeaway, the real psychology behind all this math, the motif of the moving target. The very second he hits some monumental milestone, his hunger forces him to immediately lock on to the next one. Reaching 973 didn't bring him a sense of satisfaction. Not at all. It simply shifted his focus entirely to the historic 1,000 goal mark.
Which leads us right into Section 3, Chasing Ultimate Glory.
So, that endless hunger naturally translates into a whole lot of hardware. 5 Ballon d'Or awards, 5 Champions League titles, 4 European Golden Shoes. This represents a historic peak in individual football dominance, an era where his intense, back-and-forth rivalry with Lionel Messi pushed both men to statistical heights that the sport had rarely, if ever, seen before.
But you know, he didn't just chase individual accolades. He conquered entire leagues. He secured 3 consecutive Premier League titles, achieved that legendary three-peat in the Champions League with Real Madrid, conquered Serie A, and won the Saudi Pro League. And perhaps most emotionally for him, he captained Portugal to their first ever major international silverware at Euro 2016, a victory that absolutely cemented his national legacy.
All right, Section 4, From Madeira to Global Icon.
To really understand the man, we have to peel back that superhero facade, and the contrast here is just staggering. On one hand, you have the boy from Madeira, a lonely 12-year-old facing poverty on a small island, dealing with his father's struggles with alcohol, a kid who used to actually cry on the pitch when his teammates missed his passes. And on the other hand, you have the global CR7, a man commanding a massive business empire spanning hotels and fragrances, with an audience of hundreds of millions. He managed to transform his life into one of sport's most dramatic social and economic ascensions.
We've all probably heard his famous mantra, "I don't follow records, records follow me." It's the cornerstone of this meticulously crafted CR7 brand identity. It projects this aura of complete inevitability, right? It paints his success not as a struggle, but as just a natural byproduct of his sheer excellence.
But let's be real. Those records only follow him because of an incredibly unglamorous, extreme physical discipline. We're talking strict sleep routines, a pristine diet of lean protein and whole foods, specialized post-training recovery, and avoiding heavy alcohol. He literally treats his body like a highly calibrated instrument for one specific purpose: to fight off the ultimate undefeated opponent, which is time. This discipline is the very foundation of his insane longevity.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Family, Love, and Legacy.
Because beneath that invincible exterior is a father of 5, constantly navigating the complexities of cross-border transfers alongside his partner, Georgina Rodriguez. His life off the pitch has been marked by deep human struggles too, most notably the profound and devastating grief of losing their newborn son Angel in 2022. It's a really stark reminder to all of us that extreme wealth and global fame offer absolutely no protection from real, devastating human tragedy. Yet he continues to move forward, acting as a bridge and a mentor for the whole next generation of Portuguese players.
Ultimately, his true legacy isn't just the goals. It isn't just the trophies. It is this legacy of refusal. He took the concept of continuous self-improvement and turned it into his core identity. He refused to remain just a flashy winger. He refused to accept that Portugal couldn't win a major trophy. He refused to age out of the sport when everyone else did. He refused to ever remain satisfied with his last victory.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. For a man whose entire psychological framework, whose daily routine, whose very identity has been constructed purely around the pursuit of the next moving target, what happens to him once the final whistle inevitably blows and there are no more records left to chase? Keep questioning what's possible, and thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.